You're listening to Peel Good, a marketing podcast, and I'm your host, Emily Knowles, the client account manager for Clementine Creative Agency. And for the first time ever on this podcast, I'm not only with one co-host, but two co-hosts. Today, I'm with social media manager of Clementine, Caroline Johns, and our summer intern, Coral Davids.
Hey.
Hello, the both of you.
Hey, how are you doing, Emily?
Good. I'm so excited to have three people on one podcast instead of two. A little bit of a different, layout of things. But I think it's interesting, the three of us in our journeys. That's why, we come together. The three of us were kind of considered young in the industry still, so to speak. But our stages in the industry are very different and where we've come from in our backgrounds. So I think, to start off, to speak a little bit on me, I graduated in 2018, and now I'm 3 years in, still came through like an entry level in Clementine, started off as a coordinator, and now made my way into a manager position 3 years into the industry. But Caroline, speak a little bit on you and where you have come from to where you are now in the industry. Just a little background.
Yeah, so I graduated from Kennesaw State University. I actually got a degree in communications, so I kind of fell into marketing along my journey, my career path. And so I've done public relations, event planning, kind of touched it all, but, fell into marketing and love how it just allows you to get creative with your thinking in the process of things. So
yeah, you've been probably, 6 years now into the industry?
Yeah, almost 7, I think.
Almost.
Speaking to my age, baby.
I know. Not to call it out.
Don't look it, okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, and Coral, so you're kind of, even more new than maybe I am 3 years in. So tell us a little bit about you and where you're at now.
So I'm a recent college graduate. I graduated last year, 2020, in the midst of a pandemic. So that, brought along...
The best time to graduate.
Right, it brought along its own challenges. But with that time, I've been able to acquire 2 internships. So a lot of them are both focused on digital marketing and social media marketing, content creation, social coordination, stuff like that. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now. And then I'm just excited to see, what the future holds for me as far as my career goes.
Yeah, it's so interesting how the three of us, again, as I'm saying, we're young in the industry, young professionals considered still, but, the different stages in which we are. I know when I was in college, marketing was definitely the thing I wanted to go into, because for me, marketing is so interesting and so unique in that it is ever evolving, ever changing. The trends in marketing, you don't stop learning. Just because you have your degree and you leave the classroom doesn't mean you know everything there is to know about marketing. It's something learned new every day, whether it's the digital platforms that are out there, the different social platforms that are out there, just something is new every day. And for me, I had those social media classes in college to learn and take notes and apply and have kind of hands-on experience in that. Right. For you, Caroline, did you have that available to you at the time?
I didn't take social media classes. To my knowledge, they weren't offered when I was in school, which is so interesting now that I'm, that's what I do for a living.
Right, you're
and I didn't even
manager of social.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so it's just, talking about how it changes every day and the evolving nature of marketing. Everything changes. I don't even think there were jobs specifically for social media when I was in college. It wasn't even a thought to my mind because it wasn't a big deal then.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, were you on the tail end of MySpace into Facebook, even when Facebook maybe past the point where Facebook was kind of just for a college student, where you had to have a college email to be on the platform?
Yeah, no, it was definitely past that. But yeah, it just wasn't...
as prevalent as it is today. It's just kind of in the past 10 years, the marketing industry has really boosted as far as digital. So now, social has been able to really take a platform, and a lot of companies are currently seeking and searching for people who can offer those marketing opportunities.
Exactly. And for Pinterest, for example, I started my Pinterest account in college. People were like, oh, what's this? It wasn't even a thought to people's mind, to go scrolling through Pinterest. They just didn't think about it. So yeah, I didn't even have those, at least, I didn't take those classes in college.
Right. I think for you though, speaking on Pinterest, a good segue into it was you first wanted to be a wedding planner, and mm-hmm. Pinterest being every mm-hmm. girl had a Pinterest board for their dream wedding.
Exactly.
And so it may be a good segue there into getting your feet into social media from a Pinterest perspective. And then tell me about your first internship. Was that marketing based, and then it just kind of kept evolving into these positions that were marketing and social until you ended up here?
So my first one was actually event planning. And then I dabbled in social media there as well. And it wasn't, as prevalent as it is now, obviously, but it was still new to the industry. So obviously people wanted to explore it more. But yeah, my first internship is when I kind of first dabbled in social media professionally.
Right. And it's more than just, I think, it can kind of take on this thing of you're just posting pictures, pretty pictures, and keeping up with the accounts or whatever. No, there's so much that can go into it.
Yeah.
And even like for me, when I was in college, I know my social media class, like Intro to Social Marketing, we learned what an impression was. We learned what reaches and engagements and things of that nature. Whereas I don't, like you're saying, it wasn't even a class offered to you at the time.
Right.
So having to, kind of learn that as you go. And that's coming back to my point that when you have a degree from marketing or communications, you don't know it all. It's changing every day. It's evolving every day to where you have to sit there and learn and have that hands-on experience in the market as it evolves.
Exactly. But that's the fun part about
it is the fun
marketing,
part.
Because it changes day by day. You have to learn new things, and it's applying your creativity to the next level. Like, how can I, go viral in this space? Or how can I trend in this space? And just learning and adapting. And it's really adapting to the environment, not so much marketing, because it's just the world around you.
Right.
So you really just have to adapt to your environment.
Yeah, good point. Because marketing is seen across, marketing is needed in every industry. Us as an agency, we know that. We work with many different clients across many different industries. Now for you, Coral, coming, 2020 graduated, tell us about the emphasis that marketing was placed in your degree and in your classes.
Okay, yeah, so I would definitely say, as you guys mentioned, marketing is an ever-evolving industry. And I feel like sometimes, too, college classes, they're not necessarily fully able to reflect that ever-evolving market space. So it's like the curriculum being taught, is theoretically more history of marketing, principles, vocabulary, stuff like that, and it's not really hitting those marketing trends. So while you're able to gain, a well understanding of the industry and the knowledge behind it, you don't really get an insight of like, okay, these are the current trends. Like you said, how do we really evolve in this space, and how do we trend in this place? And even just being, an intern, we're able to see the trends, learn the trends, apply them, not only apply them, but we're able to analyze them. So we get that hands-on experience looking at data and saying, okay, hey, like this works, this doesn't work, like what can we do differently? Yeah. And so I feel college, while it really gives a great space for, critical thinking and, working in groups and creating mock plans and stuff like that, you really don't get that, industry experience until, like you said, you're entry level or you're interning somewhere. I feel like that's where you really get to find your space, find your niche, and see what works for you.
Exactly. I think like college is good for the surface level, knowing the basics and knowing what is being talked about, so you can keep up with the conversation at hand when you leave that space that is just the classroom, and then you head into that internship, that real world job, and it's taking those basic like knowledge that you had on it and learned and applying it to a deeper degree.
Yeah, that's what I think. Is like college is very broad. It's a broad spectrum of like, okay, here are some different principles and things that you can apply moving forward in the real world. But like you said, once you're in the industry, you get a real narrow idea, and you really get to like look for yourself in the insights and see what it's like, and kind of what it takes to make that marketing work.
Yeah, I think it's important to know that marketing, it's good to have that background knowledge, but you really can't know the real world and all that it entails from a marketing perspective until you are applying it with real life clients in projects. Now you, Coral, started with us at Clementine. What was it? June?
May?
June 1st. June 1st.
Yeah, we interviewed May. Started June 1st.
So June 1st, and then your internship is like a summer long. Right. And this is really your first time working agency side with a multitude of clients. Mm-hmm. Tell us how that experience has been from what you learned in college, had another internship, and now you're kind of working to a more extensive level with the degree of clients you're working with.
Right. So I definitely say my first internship, I went in, I had industry knowledge from college, but, when I walked into my first day, they're like, oh, hey, these are keywords, these are Google ads, I was like, how do you boost SEO?
I know what Google is.
What does that mean? And then even on the analytical side of things, being able to track data and apply it in Excel sheets and all that. So that first internship really kind of allowed me to dip my feet, so to speak, in in the environment. And it was still kind of like smaller level. We had, I think, 6-7 employees. So it was still small scale, which was nice because, you're able to work alongside people and get, better mentorship, and you're not just a number.
Right.
True.
So I truly, valued that with my first internship, but I was only working the company internal accounts. So I had no idea what it was like to work, client facing and,
okay.
assisting and running multiple client accounts.
Right.
So this, internship really gave me that opportunity to see what it takes to run multiple client accounts and, the brand voices for each and being able to apply that and create the content and the captions and, keyword strategies and hashtag strategies and all of that stuff. This internship has been really insightful when it comes to, running multiple client accounts.
Right, yeah. And for you, Caroline, coming out of college, did you think I automatically want to do agency side when you got to that place of marketing and social is where I want to be?
For sure. I definitely did. So agency life 100%. And for me, starting with the degree in communications, the kind of baseline of social media and marketing and everything really is communications.
Right.
So applying that to the marketing space, really specifically to brand voices for social media, taking and adapting to what I learned in college, communications and everything. And what I love about social media is you can get creative, and it's not just so cut and dry in language and the tone of voice in what you're writing. And you really can get creative with those brand voices like you were speaking of.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you mentioned keywording and Google Ads, and that really does speak to why internships are so important, because you don't learn all of the stuff that you want to learn in college.
Yeah, and I think too, just to add on to that, even coming out of college, I genuinely did not have a direction in where I wanted to go. I knew going into college, I was still kind of unsure. I was debating between two completely different, marketing and forensics. I was like, which field do I want to go into? And I realized, marketing was more fitting to me. And so after going that direction and getting into my internship, I was like, I actually really enjoy digital marketing and, dealing with social accounts and the social media marketing. But out of college, I genuinely, I had no idea. When I started taking my marketing field electives, towards the end of the semester, I dabbled in advertising and, international marketing, social media marketing. And then in that class too, I know you mentioned you took one as well, but I was kind of, able to, get a first glimpse into what it is with social media marketing. But it wasn't until my internship that I was like, this is what that is. I actually really like this. And I want to keep, finding that path and direction, because when you go on, LinkedIn or Indeed, there's so many job titles, and coming out of school, you're like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
What is this in the industry?
Well, and then there's a lot of people who have a marketing salesman position that may not actually be the creative communication that we're looking at, more of just strictly sales. And I know for me, coming out of college, to point out, the importance of interning, for me in school, agency versus, in-house corporation side of things were very much very divided down the middle of, do you want to be agency because of X, Y, and Z? You're going to be working with a multitude of clients. You'll get a lot of more well-rounded experience and skill sets versus in-house somewhere, but you have one dedicated brand that you're committed to, and you put your all into that one brand to make sure it exceeds in every level. And so going into an internship that allowed me to see what it means to work with a multitude of clients, knowing that I feel like I can be a piece in each one of their stories. And that's really what solidified for me that agency life through interning is where I wanted to be. Even though in-house is just as important and can be just as beneficial, for me, I knew taking on another client's story that isn't the same one every time was really something I looked forward to working with. So you say when you walked out of college, you didn't really have a clear direction of where you wanted to go. And then you had your first internship that was more internal based, you worked more in with the internal side of things. Now you're in this internship where you're working with clients outside of the internal side of things.
Right.
Do you now know the direction you want to head when you didn't coming out of college?
Yeah, so it was my first internship was my last semester of college. So that's where I knew okay, I really want to dive into, social media marketing and coordinating and stuff like that. So from there, I was able to look, going into the job market and the workforce, okay, this is more suited to what I want to do and more tailored to, my skills and my knowledge versus, like you said, it's a sales management position, but it's more sales, it was just kind of really being able to figure out what I want to do. And even this internship here has showed me okay, I really enjoy doing client facing work and, working on different client accounts. So
would you say, and I'll ask you the question first and I'll give you my answer. Would you say that your outlook on marketing from college to now has changed? My answer is definitely yes.
Yeah.
Because it always evolves. And like I've said, I did not study marketing. So
Right.
I've kind of self-taught myself everything about the space. And I love it. But what would you say your outlook?
Yeah, I would definitely say mine too has increased with passion and, love for it.
Yeah.
Like I genuinely have found a space that I love being in. And, it's like when you're in college, you take a lot of, core classes, general classes that, everyone takes, whether it's like accounting or finance or marketing principles or stuff like that. But it wasn't really until I found my niche, interning. And then now that I'm hands-on in it and I'm able to, experience different marketing efforts and trends and stuff like that, I'm like, okay, my love for it has continuously grown. And it's something that, my passion has grown into
Right.
as well, as just being able to be hands-on in the industry and get that experience. It's like really boosted, my enjoyment and love for marketing.
Yeah. So for those who are coming out of college now, or they're about to graduate and they're kind of trying to find that direction too, and they may have an interest in marketing but aren't really sure where to start, what's some advice you would give to those individuals that you haven't already talked about?
There's actually 3 pieces of advice. I know that's a
Coming
lot.
in swinging.
Coming in hot. Well, there's 3 pieces of advice that I feel would be really beneficial for somebody who is young in the industry, or, even if you've been a couple years in the industry and you're looking to switch industries.
Yeah.
So first one would being obviously intern.
Yeah.
Intern gives you that experience and that hands-on experience within the industry, and you can really begin to decipher what you like and what you don't like. When you're in college, you get a broad scope of marketing, but once you're in it, you really get to, decide, okay, this is something I like, something I don't like. And at the same time too, a lot of internships have end dates. So it's like, whether it's a 3-month internship, a 6-month, you're being able to, explore an avenue without fully committing.
Right.
If that makes sense. So you're not like, oh man, I got to quit this job and I got to go here now. You're able to like actually experience something without having that, set commitment and then having to go through, quitting and all that. It's just a lot easier way
Right.
to go about experiencing that.
It's getting a taste of what could be out there.
Yeah, it's getting a taste. And I would say my second tip would be to invest in yourself professionally. So when I graduated college, my resume was not up to par. I can be honest in that. And I really had no idea on where to start with it. I was like, okay, how am I going to reflect, my work in a way that is professional?
Yeah.
And 2, especially because it's not fully industry experience, it's like past stuff. So how can I really form all of my work experience to, better apply myself and make me a more applicable candidate? And so I invested a little over $200 and getting a professional resume done, working with her, and she was able to really craft up something that reflected my accomplishments and achievements and all that. But I know some people too who, whether it's you're trying to get more certifications and you might have to take, a $100 test or whatever, invest in yourself professionally because it will work out for you in the long run.
I think investing in yourself professionally is a good tip. And I will say too, for those who may not have, the income to be able to do a $200 resume check, there's still people who are in this industry who love to mentor and love to look out for those coming into the industry and want them to start off on the right foot, because they are also the future of the job they're currently working.
Yeah, because I can kind of piggyback off of that too. Going with that, for my third tip was to network.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Networking is super important because, again, coming out of college, in the pandemic, I lost both of my jobs. So I was completely unemployed. I'm like, okay, how do I, get a new position? Like, what do I have to do? And so again, that's kind of where that investing in yourself professionally came from, because I wanted to, show that, hey, I am an applicable candidate, and wanted to present myself in a professional manner. And then 2, I was like, okay, networking. And I started looking at all, companies that I would like to work for, whether it's Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, Spotify, Delta, Hard Rock. I really like travel industry too. And so what I did though is I would look up social media marketing and I would type in the company. So social media marketing, Dunkin' Donuts. And every person who came up with that title, I sent a personalized message to. I sent over like 500 messages of just, hey, my
putting
name's
in that groundwork.
Yeah, my name's Coral Davids. I'm just looking for any advice you may have when trying to enter the industry, or if you know of any open positions.
Yeah. And
stuff like that. And so from that, I was really able to make some good connections. I did make over those 500 connections, so I was able to build my LinkedIn. But on top of that too, I was able to really connect. I was able to speak personally on the phone with, senior level at Southwest. I was able to speak, with a marketing representative at Disney. And so, they were really able to guide me like, oh, hey, here's some advice. I'm willing to help anyone who's willing to work for it and willing to reach out.
Yeah.
So you have people like that, like you said, who are willing to mentor and give you advice, and whether a job comes from it or doesn't,
right?
You know, you have the opportunity to where you've built a connection and you've been able to gain industry insight and knowledge, which is super important.
Yeah.
You know, when just coming out, and even if you're trying to switch industries, you know, that's just a good way to like reach out and kind of get your name known too.
Yeah, it kind of breaks that barrier of the like nerves that you get from trying to put yourself out there when you start, you know, that early on, and you start with researching those companies and those people and reaching out and making that connection and that effort to network definitely, you know, separates you from the rest. And at least internally, you kind of have that experience to build on that makes you break through the nerves that you may initially have.
And I would say, too, even going off of that, because, you know, I had to go through multiple rounds of interviews, network with the people you interview. Sometimes positions aren't meant for you, or it's just the wrong timing. You know what I mean? You might have that go-to spirit that they're looking for, but you just don't have the industry knowledge. And that happened, you know, to me in a lot of cases. But at the same time, too, I was able to say, hey, you know, I really appreciate your time and effort in interviewing me. And, you know, I would love to stay connected if you have any advice or if you know of any positions coming out. And so then again, I was able to make more connections, make more friends in the industry. And so, you know, even if something seems like it's not working out for you, or you're like, oh man, I just can't land a job, still network with those people, you know, because that's going to prove to be super valuable. And even if it doesn't work out, they're like, oh, hey, this person was really cool.
Yeah. I like to say every foot in the door is not a missed opportunity.
Exactly.
You can take away something from it each time.
So
true. Yeah. And I think that's great advice, Court, especially for those who may be graduating soon or have just graduated and they're trying to make their way into finding some type of, you know, job opportunity or networking opportunity out there. And I'm excited to see, you know, from the internship experience you've had here and how it will apply in the future as you continue on your journey in marketing. And I think me and Caroline can attest that we had to grow a lot through our internship opportunities, and we had to get to a place where we learned that, you know, marketing is so evolving and that we have to continue to learn and we have to continue to be passionate about it and not burn out from the ever-evolving challenge it brings. So that'll be definitely interesting to keep up with you and see how things turn out. So I thank you both for like joining me today. I know it's a little bit of a different layout, like we said, but I think, you know, coming together as three young professionals in the industry, but all in different stages of where we're at, where we've, you know, graduated college, to how many years of experience we've had and how we got there, it'll definitely continue for us in our journeys from there on out.